You guys really liked the first video, so let's talk about 7 more bizarre creatures from Supernatural. This case isn't supernatural, right? Because it's supernatural. Huh? Anyway.
Supernatural.
The Hellhounds, or originally called Hellhounds, are demon dogs that were basically used as weapons by demons. As their name suggests, Hellhounds reside in hell. Demons typically employ them to collect debts owed from packs. And they're described as demonic pit bulls. The Hellhounds are fierce and terrifying entities. They inspire fear even in demons and angels. According to Crowley, after God began creating the universe, he created a multitude of creatures, including the Hellhounds. They were supposed to be kind of the creator's best friends. However, the Hellhounds proved to be very cruel. So God decided to destroy them all. But Lucifer, once he fell from heaven, managed to rescue one of the Hellhounds, Ramsey, who was pregnant. And from Ramsey, the population of Hellhounds began to grow again.
He rescued a pregnant dog named Ramsey. Tell her to stop. Nobody controls her.
From that moment on, over the millennia, the Hellhounds served as hunters for the demons, chasing humans who sold their souls.
Hang in there, baby. Dogs, black dogs. Bob.
The Hellhounds are extremely violent and even intelligent. Once they catch the scent of their victim, they will pursue them relentlessly without stopping until their target is dead, or at least until their master cancels the order. They are clever, and it's very difficult to trick or distract them. They are willing to improvise to get to their prey, and they often physically tear their victims to pieces to collect their souls. In some cases, however, their mere presence is enough to literally scare people to death, or at least drive people insane. They appear as black, fierce dogs with red eyes. They range in size from dogs of a large standard to even small horses. They generate a kind of black aura around them, making them look like they're made of shadows. And if you like this kind of video, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video too, because it really helps me out, all right? Also, check the pinned link in the comments. Eve was a mysterious and powerful being known as the mother of all monsters. She was in the depths of purgatory until she was freed by the dragons, who aren't really dragons, right? But anyway, when she arrives on Earth, she uses the body of a young virgin as her vessel, right? Just like the Leviathans too, Eve is kind of part of the universe's existence before the angels, and she has an advantage over them because she's kind of able to prevent them from using their holy powers.
I'm powerless. Something in this city, likely Eve, is affecting me.
It was Eve who created the Alphas, who were the first monsters of each species, from which all the others ended up being born. And her last appearance here on Earth gave rise to 2 new species, and both were named by Jim. The first is a worm-like creature that Jim nicknamed Worm Can, and the second is a kind of hybrid species, mass-produced by Eve, perfected after the beta test. Jim called them by a name I can't remember right now, but I'll probably put it on the screen later.
Jefferson's spaceship, yeah.
Unique.
Ivy's sole weakness is the phoenix ashes. Jim killed her by mixing the ashes into a drink before their meeting. When she bid him to turn him into a monster, she ingested the ashes and died. There's also a notable scene with Castiel during this part.
Close your eyes.
Well, Ivy's essence and everything that made up her non-physical form ended up returning to purgatory. There, she later even tried to get revenge on Jim and Castiel for the actions that sent her back to purgatory, right? Djinns or genies are supernatural beings that live in caves and have the power to produce powerful hallucinations inside the minds of humans. In Arab mythology, they are the main enemies of humanity, and they used to live in the heavens before the fall. To learn more about their true history, check out my video on the channel. The Djinns in Supernatural are humanoid creatures with tattooed skin who prefer to live in large ruins with many places to hide. They feed on human blood and can poison their victims with just a touch. The poison can be used to kill their victims quickly or to leave them in a coma while the Djinn feeds on their blood for a long period of time. The Djinn are described in the Quran as invisible beings. Contemporary tradition describes them as genies capable of reading a person's mind to recognize their deepest desires. The Djinn in Supernatural don't actually grant wishes like the genies of tradition. Instead, they use poison, so the victim has such powerful hallucinations that they actually think they're living in the reality that was implanted. In the second season, Djinn and Sam are tracking a Djinn, and when Sam tells Djinn that according to his research, they usually live in ruins, the bigger, the better, Djinn remembers a warehouse he passed by a while ago and decides to investigate on his own. In the warehouse, Djinn discovers a Djinn but is overwhelmed and poisoned. They then find themselves in a fantasy universe based on their deepest wish, that their mother hadn't passed away during their childhood. In this alternate reality, Jim and Sam are not hunters, and because of that, they aren't that close.
Oh yeah, and there's that too. Since when do you call me Sam? Jim, come on. We only talk during the holidays.
Jim wants to believe that he got his wish, but convinces himself that he's just dreaming. That kind of wakes him up, and when he comes back to reality, he's tied up and very weak. Sam is trying to wake Jim up, untying him there. And then the genie appears. Jim manages to break free and kind of stab the genie with a knife that's soaked in lamb's blood. And then the genie dies. Crocotas, or Leo Crocota in Greek mythology, was a creature with the body of a deer, the neck of a lion, cloven hooves, and a wide mouth with a sharp bony crest instead of teeth. It kind of imitated other people's voices to lure its victims. In Supernatural, it's not that different. Crocotas also imitate anyone's voice to lure their victims. Since we're discussing Supernatural, the creatures also look human. The legend says that they lured people by calling out their names, and they would kind of go into the depths of the forest and then be devoured. A crocodile in Supernatural kind of told this story. He also said that it took days to find a victim, and he would go hungry for days, and that people kind of already knew his tricks, so that made the job even harder. However, now he discovered a new way to catch his victims, which was by using the phones. He used that famous number from the episode, right? SHA 33. They could imitate the voices of a loved one and tried to convince people to kind of hypnotize themselves. He could then swallow the victim. The Crocotas also live in filth and are known for saying, "Come to me," sometimes even being recognized by this phrase. Skinwalkers in legends would be witches who with the skin of animals can transform into any of them. Snakes, wolves, dogs, and everything else, even bears. Now, skinwalkers in Supernatural are kind of similar to dogs that were encountered by the Winchester brothers and also other hunters. They can shapeshift into dogs. After reading John's journal, Jim and Chester view them as werewolves' cousins. Because of some similarities, just like them, skinwalkers can also transform into animals. In this case, mostly domestic dogs, being cousins of werewolves, also transform into animals. They can also be killed in very similar ways, for example, with silver weapons. They can infect people with a single bite, and they feed on the hearts of humans. Unlike werewolves, the transformation of skinwalkers into canines is complete, and they are not limited by the phases of the moon. They can transform anytime, day or night. They also mainly transform into dogs, into pets, and kind of pretend to be a family's pet and live there in the house. And also, in a way very similar to vampires, they can also live in packs and are led by the pack leader, who in this case would be the Skinwalker Alpha, which we've never seen, unfortunately. Istriga would be a creature that feeds on the life force of children in mythology. In fact, in Brazil, the Iron Witch would also fit as one, and Supernatural is basically the same thing. Sometime before the events of the series itself, Sam and Jim had an encounter with one of these creatures when they were children. This Istriga killed children in Wisconsin every 15 or 20 years, at least since the beginning of the 1890s. Their father left Jim in charge of caring for Sam, while Tony went to hunt a creature there that we can't recall at the moment. Jim went out later that night and found Istriga feeding on Sam. John suddenly arrived at the last moment and shot the creature, making it retreat and escape. Apparently, she went into hibernation earlier because when John came back to hunt her, she wasn't there, she was gone. In the same episode where this happens, or where it shows that this happened, John sends the guys to a town where there are kids being attacked by the Striga, probably so that Djinn would finish the job. Well, the creature took the form of a doctor named Hittaker, or something like that. And it would be the exact same creature that attacked Sin when he was a baby. Sin and Djinn knew its pattern and set a trap for it, using a boy there. When the creature comes to attack the child, they jump out and attack it. It overpowered Sin briefly and began draining his life force, until Djinn shot her in the head with an iron bullet while she was feeding, killing her. The life force that the Striga had taken from the children returned to them with her death, allowing them to recover. According to Castiel, the Archangels are known in heaven as absolute, precise, and wrathful beings. As he called them, they would be heaven's most fearsome wrath. Like all angels, their true forms are very intense and have proven to be not only strange and frightening, but also deadly to humans. Although Castiel also claimed that special humans can see their true forms, the presence, or rather, the true form of the archangels in Supernatural does not appear. When it almost appears, it would be kind of a pure and very strong white light. And their arrival can cause not only small tremors, but also big quakes, as shown when Lucifer, and also when Raphael appeared, to kind of protect the prophet, who up until then was Chuck. Their true voice is also unbearable for humans. In Raphael's case, it caused the eastern seaboard to suffer a blackout, and generated strong winds and big storms. The archangels are primordial beings. They were the first and strongest class of angels created by God in Supernatural. They are Michael, Lucifer, Raphael, and Gabriel. Remember, in the actual mythology stories, Lucifer is portrayed as more of a cherub, despite being an archangel. Even Metatron kind of, if I'm not mistaken, thought he was an archangel. Actually, even in Supernatural, they say he was just an ordinary angel who was chosen by God to be the scribe. To see more content like this, like the video, subscribe, and share it with others. If you have ideas for a series, cartoon, or mythology content you'd like to see on this channel, leave it in the comments. Thanks. See you. Bye.